you know what they really fear. It's not your anger. It's not your fists. It's not even your silence, though that terrifies them more than they'll ever admit. What truly makes their blood run cold is the moment you decide to break that silence. Because when the quiet one finally speaks, the room doesn't just go silent. It stops breathing. And in that suffocating void, they realize they've made a catastrophic mistake. They pushed too far. They asked the wrong question. They poked the sleeping giant one too many times, and now they have to hear the truth they spent years pretending didn't exist. See? They mistake your silence for weakness. They always do. In their shallow little minds, silence equals submission. Silence means you have nothing to say. Silence means you're scared people. You're broken. You're beneath them. They see you sitting there, observing, analyzing, absorbing every lie that drips from their mouths like poison, and they think they've won. They think your quietness is proof of their dominance. But what they don't understand, what they can't possibly comprehend in their finite little existence, is that your silence was never about fear. It was about calculation. It was about watching them expose themselves, documenting every contradiction, cataloging every betrayal, building a complete psychological profile while they ran their mouths thinking they were in control. You weren't silent because you had nothing to say. You were silent because everything you had to say would end them. These simmer down. And you were still deciding if they were worth the energy. You were silent because words are weapons, people, and you don't draw a weapon unless you intend to use it. You were silent because you learned a long time ago that most conversations are just noise, meaningless static generated by people who are terrified of their own thoughts. So you withdrew. You observed. You let them think whatever made them comfortable. And in that space between their words and your silence, you became dangerous. Not dangerous in the way they understand it. Not with volume or aggression or theatrical displays of dominance. Dangerous in the way a surgeon is dangerous. Dangerous in the way the truth is dangerous. People. Dangerous because you saw through the game, and once you speak, everyone else will too. But then they make their fatal error. They interpret your patience as permission. They see your restraint as an invitation to push harder, to dig deeper, to test boundaries that were never meant to be crossed. Maybe is civilized people. Maybe it's in a meeting where they publicly question your competence. Maybe it's in a relationship where they mistake your tolerance for stupidity. Bull. Maybe it's just a moment where their ego demands validation and they think humiliating you will provide it. Whatever the catalyst, they ask the question. They throw out the challenge. They demand you explain yourself, defend yourself, justify your existence to people who couldn't comprehend your depth if they had 1,000 years. And something shifts. The equation changes. The cost-benefit analysis suddenly tips in favor of detonation. And you decide, okay, you want to hear me speak? Let me speak. And when you do, it's not what they expected. They thought if they finally got you to respond, you'd stumble, you'd get emotional, you'd reveal the weakness they always suspected was there. Instead, what comes out of your mouth is surgical precision. You don't raise your voice because you don't need to. Every word is chosen with the exact weight required to dismantle them. You don't speak in anger. You speak in cold, irrefutable fact. You reference things they said 6 months ago that contradicted what they said yesterday. You pull out receipts they didn't even know you were keeping. These civilized people, you articulate their own insecurities back to them with such clarity that they can't hide from their reflection anymore. You don't attack them. You simply hold up a mirror, and the image looking back is so hideous they can't bear to see it. This is the nightmare scenario for people who live on the surface, because their entire existence is built on the assumption no one is really paying attention. They rely on people having short memories, on social situations being too polite for real confrontation, on the general chaos of life drowning out individual accountability. They've gotten away with their manipulations, their little cruelties. People, their strategic incompetence for so long that they believe they're untouchable. And then you speak, and they realize someone was watching. Someone was listening. Someone remembered everything. And that someone has a level of awareness they can't compete with. Because while they were performing, you were studying. While they were talking, you were thinking. While they were building castles out of lies, you were documenting the blueprints. The room changes when you speak, because authority doesn't come from volume. It comes from certainty, people. And you have the certainty that comes from observation, from pattern recognition, from having done the internal work they're terrified to even begin. You're not guessing. You're not projecting. You're not operating from ego. You're simply stating what is. And what is happens to be devastating, because the truth, when spoken with precision and without emotion, is the most destructive force in human interaction. It strips away all the comfortable illusions. It reveals the machinery beneath the performance, people. It shows everyone in the room exactly who they've been dealing with, and more importantly, who they've been underestimating. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because once you've spoken, these civilized people, once you've demonstrated the depth of your observation and the sharpness of your analysis, they can't go back. They can't unknow what you've revealed. They can't unsee themselves through your eyes. These civilized people, the power dynamic has permanently shifted, and everyone feels it. These civilized people, the people who were complicit in underestimating you, suddenly get very quiet themselves. The ones who were testing you realize they just failed the test. And the person who pushed you to speak, who demanded this response, who thought they were calling your bluff, they're the ones who suffer most. Because they asked for this. They insisted on it. And now they have to live with the consequences of having pulled the pin on a grenade they didn't know was livable. This is why the quiet ones are dangerous. Not because they're plotting revenge or harboring secret violence, but because they're the only ones in the room operating with complete information. While everyone else is lost in their own narrative, drowning in their own ego, the quiet one has been building a complete picture. They see the contradictions, they notice the patterns, They understand the motivations beneath the actions. They're not just hearing what you say. They're reading what you're not saying, analyzing how you're saying it, cross-referencing it with everything else you've ever said. People. They're running psychological algorithms while you think you're just having a conversation. And when they finally choose to share their conclusions, it's like someone turning on the lights in a room where everyone thought they were safely hidden in darkness. The tragedy, if you want to call it that, is that it never had to go this way. Your silence was actually a gift. It was protection. It was you choosing not to expose them, not to humiliate them, not to reveal to everyone else what you already knew. You were giving them the space to be imperfect, to grow, to maybe recognize their own patterns and change. Your quietness was an act of mercy that they mistook for weakness. And when they pushed you to break that silence, they weren't just asking you to speak. They were demanding you remove the protection you'd been providing. They were insisting you stop carrying the weight of seeing them clearly while pretending you didn't. They wanted transparency. You gave them transparency. They wanted honesty. You gave them honesty. They wanted you to finally say what you were thinking. Congratulations. Now they know. And knowing is a burden they're not equipped to carry. This civilized people, this is the difference between people who talk and people who've been through something real. People who talk are still trying to convince the world and themselves of who they are. They need constant validation, constant engagement, constant proof that they matter. Their words are shields against their own insignificance. But people who've been silent, who've been through trauma, isolation, betrayal, who've spent time in the abyss and came back different. They're not performing anymore. They're not seeking validation. They already know who they are because they've been tested in ways that don't require an audience. Their silence isn't empty. It's full of observations, full of understanding, full of hard-won wisdom that can't be articulated to people who haven't earned it. And when they do speak, it's not because they need to. It's because you force their hand. And forcing the hand of someone who doesn't need you is always a mistake. You see it in their faces the moment the words leave your mouth. That flash of recognition, that micro-expression that says, no. That instant where they realize they've been seen, truly seen, maybe for the first time in their lives, and what's been seen isn't pretty. They wanted to draw you out, to make you react, to prove they could affect you. Instead, you've shown them that not only have they not affected you, you've understood them completely. You've diagnosed them, you've categorized them, and you've decided they're exactly what you thought they were, which is deeply, profoundly ordinary. Dangerous, perhaps in their mediocrity, but ordinary nonetheless. These civilized people and being seen as ordinary by someone they've used beneath them, that's the wound that doesn't heal. The aftermath is always the same. They try to laugh it off, to minimize what just happened, to reframe your response as an overreaction. But everyone heard what you said. Everyone felt the shift. The spell is broken. You can't unhear truth once it's been spoken with that kind of clarity. And in the days and weeks that follow, they'll avoid you. They'll speak carefully around you. They'll treat you with a nervous respect that wouldn't exist if they still believe their own narrative. These civilized people, because you've shown them something they spend most of their lives trying to avoid, the reality of who they actually are when someone is paying attention, not who they pretend to be, not who they wish they were, who they actually are. And that reality reflected back with perfect clarity by someone who chose silence until silence was no longer an option, is a haunting they'll never escape. This is your power, not in the speaking itself, but in the choice. In knowing when silence serves you and when it doesn't. In understanding that words are tools, not expressions of desperation. In recognizing that most people don't deserve your thoughts, and the ones who force you to share them always regret it. You didn't become quiet because you were weak. People, you became quiet because you became strong enough to not need constant engagement. You learned that most battles aren't worth fighting because most people aren't worth the energy. You discovered that observation yields more than participation. You understood that in a world of noise, silence is the ultimate power move. But when you do speak, when the calculation determines its time, when someone has pushed past the boundary of acceptable, these civilized people, that's when they learn what they were actually dealing with all along. That's when the quiet one reminds everyone why certain people should never be underestimated. That's when room remembers that silence isn't absence. It's presence compressed into its most potent form, waiting for the exact right moment to expand and fill every space with undeniable truth. So let them keep talking. Let them keep assuming. Let them keep mistaking your observation for weakness, your patience for fear, your silence for submission. Because every word they speak while you listen is another entry in the ledger, another piece of data, another confirmation of exactly who they are. And when the moment comes, when they finally push you to speak, people, when they demand you explain yourself or defend yourself or justify yourself to people who will never understand, you'll give them exactly what they asked for. The truth. Complete, unfiltered, devastating truth. And in that moment, as they realize what they've unleashed, as they wish they could take back their question, as they understand too late that some doors should never be opened, you'll know that your silence was never the weakness, their inability to handle what came after the silence. These civilized people, that was the weakness. That was always the weakness. And now everyone knows it. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double check responses.